truth isn't positive or negative. It's just the truth. Now, here's some more of it. This is the Sports Source.
And welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by our friends at A.G. Heinz Company. Family owned for 4 generations. That goes back 100 years. There aren't many companies in this country that can say that. That's what A.G. Heinz Company is. They always on the cutting edge of new building materials, new tools, new equipment. Do me a favor. Check out agheinz.com this week, or go by and see them, or you can call them right there at that phone number. Gordon Hines and his team, really, really good people. You'll be so happy you dealt with them. If you have any kind of do-it-yourself project, any kind of building project going on right now, A.G. Heinz Company. Okay, this is our hot read segment. That means 2 quick questions. The first one, we're going to make it easy today. We're just going to do offense, defense. Jeremy Pruitt said he thought the offense played pretty well yesterday, which, considering, you only had 1 touchdown that you gave the defense. That's better than 2 the previous week, so there's improvement. You still, though, you had, 25% you converted on 3rd down, which is their number for the season, which is horrible. They did connect on some deep balls, though, that looked good. Run game had moments where it was all right. But when you look at Alabama's defense this year, Chuck, let's take a look at these numbers. Here's what Tennessee did compared to what everyone else has done against Alabama. Okay, you were the worst. So, yes, Tennessee's offense was okay because it didn't shoot itself in the foot 15 times. Your thoughts, though, overall on the offense and what you saw yesterday. Is the offense going in the right direction?
It's hard for me to say they're going in the right direction. I thought that Alabama's defense was pretty vanilla. And Tennessee said, hey, you think that's vanilla? We'll show you on our offense what vanilla is. So I think that's kind of what they did. I go back to I think they protected the quarterback. I think they ran a lot on 3rd and long just so they wouldn't have any catastrophic plays. I thought the offensive line had some pretty decent moments. The long balls that you talked about, they hit 3 of them, 2 to Hyatt and 1 to Palmer. But so much of it was just so conservative. We're going to play not to lose, or we're going to try to keep it closer, that I don't really give them much of a grade. To say this is the best the offense has played, wow. That's kind of a condemning statement.
And what was your conversion rate on 3rd down?
25%.
16 or something? I mean, that's not going to get it done. Time of possession, you lost, 34 to 25? I mean, and I've almost lost count, John. You mentioned it. Isn't it 37 points the offense has allowed in the last 3 games? I mean, it's getting up there. It's ridiculous, that number. So that's what I guess you're trying to protect against. But you can't be that vanilla on offense and stay competitive with Alabama.
Thoughts on the offense?
It wasn't, the offensive line did okay, but like we said, I think it was more play calling. They didn't do 3rd and 8, drop back pass, and I think that's probably can also be conditioned towards could our tackles hold up against a pass rush? I think they're looking at it both sides and say, 3rd and predictable throwing down, we're not good enough to be back doing that.
It's still remarkable if you trace this, how many of Garantano's passes are outside the numbers.
Yes.
I mean, and I think that talks about confidence in your quarterback and his strengths as well. He throws a pretty deep ball, so they continue to tack outside, but they don't like it going across the middle. All right, let's talk about defense. Quarterbacks and play calling always get the blame. That's always what causes a loss. But the reality is, your defense yesterday is what lost that game. I mean, your offense wasn't great, but the defense was just horrible. And granted, Alabama's offense, historically good. What is it, 35 points in 18 straight games now? Correct. Or something insane like that?
Correct.
But still, your D-line, now coached by Jeremy Pruitt, had huge holes punched in it. I was looking at a thesaurus last night to see other words for big hole. Chasm, canyon, abyss. Gaping. Huge holes punched in the defensive line yesterday. Tackling was pretty poor for most of the game. There was no pass rush at all, which leaves your secondary. I don't care if you've got Darrelle Revis and Stephon Gilmore back there. If you let them run around for 5 seconds, they're not going to be able to cover. Even when they were covering a guy, the Alabama receiver made plays. I just didn't see much out of that defense yesterday where I go, oh, that looked good.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama had what they wanted, right? I mean, you call a play, which play's not going to work in our playbook is what they're looking at. I mean, that's a hard day or easy day for their team. The linebackers, Henry Toto's been getting a lot of great press. Terrible day. Not good on pass, missed tackles, bounced off, got blocked. And that's your best guy. So that offense took it to you on all levels, lined up and whipped you everywhere they possibly could.
If they wanted to throw, they threw at will. If they wanted to run, we'll get into this a little bit later when you talk about quit and culture and things, but you had a third down, 1 yard touchdown run from Najee Harris where they just kind of stood there and let him go in. Your thoughts on the defense, and if anybody wants to go specifically with the defensive line, since that was the big change this week, you're welcome to.
I did not think the defensive line played well at all. I did think there was an interesting comment from Jeremy Pruitt afterwards saying that they don't have a real good understanding of what they're supposed to do, of technique, of situational football, of what the other team's doing. Really? So that was kind of an indictment on the defensive line. But I didn't think they played well. I didn't think there was anything about the defense that showed up well. And this secondary, which I mistakenly thought was going to be a pretty good group and maybe one of the strengths of the defense, they haven't played well at all. Even Jeremy Pruitt acknowledged they've had 5 games in a row where they haven't played well.
Yeah, guys, I'll tell you what, defensive line play like that will get a position coach fired.
All right, head coach.
Mark that one down, boys.
Here's the thing about that. So is that sort of suggesting that they weren't ready for any of those things because of the last coach, Brumbaugh? Because if there are people out there who are willing to now say, well, it was Brumbaugh's fault. You created that problem. You didn't want Tracy Rocker back. We beat the hell out of that story on this show to the point that I was getting emails, stop talking about it. He knows more than you. That even if they fix the problem at this time, it's a problem they created. The defensive line got better from first game to last game last year, and they said, this guy doesn't recruit well enough. Get out of here. And they brought in Brumbaugh. So I don't want to hear them now say that, well, he just did such a poor job. He wouldn't have been here if not for that move.
Well, John, and how could the guys not understand it? Because you've still got Butler, you've got Middleton, you've got Solomon, you got a lot of the same people that were on that defensive line last year that did get better. So what's the deal? They should have an understanding of what they're doing based on last year and the fact that they're returning players. So I don't really understand that disconnect.
And also, I'll be frank with you, if defensive line's that complicated, you got an issue right there in the very beginning. Hello, there's a guy in front of you. I know which gap I have. I get off the block and I go make the play. Beyond that, if we ain't getting there, there's a whole lot of translation that we need to pare things down because we do not need defensive line having to learn the philosophy too much.
Are you closing that gap you're talking about?
And knowledge gap's not closing.
Haven't we questioned whether they were giving Garantano too much to think about and process and saying he could do it? Now are you saying it's the defensive line? Is it also the linebackers? What's next?
Secondary.
Okay.
So what we're saying now is Pruitt's defense is too complicated? Is that what you're saying, Chuck?
Apparently at Tennessee. Wasn't it
Tennessee. It was good at Alabama.
They had 3 years to learn it before they got on the field at Alabama.
It's going to be 9 segments of me coming back. Alabama yesterday, 250 yards 5 minutes into the second quarter, 396 yards at halftime. They got 597 overall. That's more than they got against Missouri, Texas A&M, or Georgia. Only Ole Miss gave up more yards.
John, they had 260 yards on first downs in the first half. They also had about 300 yards on first down for the game, but they were just torching Tennessee. I think it was 13 first down plays in the first half where Alabama gained at least 10 yards. That's awful. I've never seen a stat like that.
No, and I will say, again, give credit to Alabama. That is a tremendous historical offense, but I know there was some hope that the defense would show that they were a little bit better than they showed yesterday. All right, next we're going to play Why They Were Stupid. And we got a good one. It starts in pregame warm-ups. They didn't even wait for game time. We'll let Will Overstreet explain that next on the Sports Source. Come on back.